Hello everyone, welcome back to I Create For You. We're back into The Lighthouse Ghosts and Legends by Nina Kostopoulos. I believe this one's going to be a long one. This is the lighthouse. It's at Hendricks Headlight Station, Boothbay Harbor, Maine. Okay. I'm a little hoarse today. Alrighty. The Infant and the Lady of Dusk. Hendricks Head Lighthouse sits on a rocky, windswept shore on the east side of Sheepscot River, 6 miles from Boothbay Harbor. Biting winter gales and towering storm-driven waves have sent many an unfortunate soul into the razor-like edges of Hendricks Head. At the start of the 19th century, these perilous waters were nearly impassable. As a remedy to the situation, the first Hendricks Head Lighthouse was built in 1829. It was replaced in 1875 with the existing tower. Like many coastal towns in Maine, Hendricks Head boasts a wealth of legends and lore. These legends have passed down over the years, told and retold on winter nights to wide-eyed children. One such story involves a much-disputed shipwreck. According to the tale, in March of 1870, lighthouse keeper Gerald Marr and his wife Catherine stood huddled together, watching helplessly as the tumultuous Atlantic assaulted a wayward vessel. A whirling snowstorm blinded the captain of the ship and obstructed his view of the lighthouse. He was dangerously close to the rocks on Hendricks Head. Marr knew the vessel was in trouble as large waves drove it closer and closer to a dangerous stretch of shoals. Debating whether his small dory would make it the half-mile out to the ship, the keeper crawled down to the rocky edge of the water to check conditions. He realized then that the waves were too intense, the winds too brutal, and the air too cold. From this vantage point, he could see that all those aboard the unfortunate ship were getting washed over by the pounding waves. The water froze on impact with the ship. The crew members were becoming encased in a layer of ice. Marr knew his small dory was no match for the waves. Much to his despair, he was resigned to wait, hoping for a lull in the storm. Together, the Marrs stood watching the hapless ship well into the night. As the gray sky faded to black, they lit a large bonfire on the beach, hoping to encourage anyone still alive to hang on. Not long afterward, the couple noticed a large bundle bobbing over the waves. Marr crawled it down to the edge of the water and reeled it in with a boat hook. To his dismay, he realized he had rescued 2 feather mattresses. He scrutinized the bundle to see if there was something he could have missed. Then it dawned on him. Something must have been sent between them. Quickly, he cut the ropes and found a box. Sure enough, inside the box was a baby girl. Miraculously, she was still alive. Marr gathered the baby up and held her close to his chest. He and Catherine ran with the crying infant up to the keeper's cottage. There, Catherine took the baby into the house, bundled her in warm blankets, and rocked her by the fire. Marr returned to the beach to send a signal to the ship. He was determined to let those still alive know that he had received their package. Later, when the storm let up, he could no longer see the ship. It had been ravaged by the sea. Soon after, wreckage began to wash ashore. The saddened keeper examined the remnants of the ship that he had been unable to save. Before long, he came upon the box that had borne the child. In it, he found blankets, a small locket, and a note from the baby's mother, commending her soul to God. The Marrs already had 5 children of their own and couldn't afford another. Nevertheless, they took it upon themselves to find a home for the orphaned baby. They were delighted when a doctor and his wife, summer residents at Hendricks Head, came forth to claim the child. Extensive arguments have been made to discredit this account, but word has it that Marr's great-great-granddaughter, Alyssa Trepanier, validated the story, claiming she'd heard it spoken of all her life. She even knew the baby's name, Seaborn. Fact or fiction, the legend of the rescued baby remains a favorite among lighthouse enthusiasts. Another favorite legend passed down for more than 70 years is that of the Lady of Dusk. One cold December day in 1931, an unaccompanied woman took a bus into Boothbay Harbor. She wore a smart black dress. As the bus filled with mostly locals rumbled into town, she sat poised and made no conversation. When the bus stopped in the harbor, she climbed off carrying only a small suitcase. The afternoon was warmer than usual for December in Maine, but still cold by most standards. Wind rolled lightly across the jagged, naked branches of the trees. The sun hung low in the sky and cast shadows across summer cottages that would remain locked until well into spring. Waves spilled across the deserted beach. The woman walked through the town with her head held high before slipping inside the Fullerton Hotel and asking politely for a room. The clerk nodded, assuming the woman was in town on business or perhaps to purchase summer property. Giving the woman a key, he wished her a pleasant stay. Once upstairs, the woman unlocked her suitcase. She freshened up from her trip but didn't rest. Apparently, she had somewhere to be. Moments later, she let herself out of her room and locked the door behind her. Back in the lobby, she slipped past the desk and out the front door. On the street, she came upon some passer-by and asked them to point her in the direction of the open ocean. They suggested she visit the wharf, which offered the most charming view in Boothbay Harbor. Showing little interest in the view, she thanked them just the same and went on her way, continuing up the looping road and wound around the harbor to Southport and Hendricks Head. By this time, the delicate wind had picked up. It rose and fell and was at times still, at times quite restless. Dark clouds pushed across the low afternoon sun, and a thread of snow loomed on the horizon. The dignified woman didn't seem to notice her care. She continued with long, determined strides up the road to Southport. Mrs. Pinkman, who ran the Southport post office, was outside locking up for the evening when the woman passed. Her husband, Charlie, was finalizing the day's sales in his general store and overheard their conversation. The woman saw Pinkham and stopped to ask for directions to the ocean. Naturally, Mrs. Pinkham pointed her to the stretch of the shore directly across the highway. The woman nodded, obviously aware of the ocean's proximity, but instead of moving on, she inquired again about a particular sweep of ocean. Confused, Mrs. Pinkham suggested Hendricks Head. The woman nodded. She seemed familiar with the name and wished for directions there. Knowing the sun would soon sink below the horizon and concerned with the weather, Mrs. Pinkham warned her against taking the lonely road to Hendricks Head that night. But the woman couldn't be bothered. She thanked Mrs. Pinkham and went on her way. As the clouds slid over the sun, Mrs. Pinkham watched the woman fade into the distance. She could see her black dress flapping in the wind as her long hair tossed behind her. When his wife came in from the cold, Mr. Pinkham questioned her about the mysterious woman. Who was she, and where was she going? Why was she so determined to reach Hendricks Head in the dark? Mrs. Pinkham told him of the woman's intentions, but he wasn't satisfied. He felt uneasy about the whole affair. Alone, the woman continued up the sandy path until she heard someone approaching. Not wanting to be warned away, she slipped into the trees and watched quietly as Charles Knight, the keeper of the Hendricks Head lighthouse, passed on his way to the post office. When he was a good distance from her, the woman stepped out of her hiding place and continued her journey. Back in town, the Pinkmans told Knight about the strange woman heading to his part of the island and asked whether he had passed her along the way. Knight was perplexed. He'd seen no one on his way into town. The whole story was extremely curious. What could warrant so dangerous an excursion? Vowing to look for her on his return, Knight wished the Pinkmans a good evening and set out. He wanted to overtake the woman before it got dark. Knight grew more and more apprehensive as the darkness began to cover the island. With the thick clouds hovering overhead, it was becoming almost too dark to see. Having walked the route time and time again, Knight had no trouble finding his way home, but he was nervous for the woman. She didn't know the way. As he approached the lighthouse, he saw a figure dart behind one of the summer cottages. Sure it was the woman the Pinkmans had told him about. He called out, but received no answer. Again he called, and again no answer came. By the time he reached the summer cottage, whoever it had been was gone. The woman never returned to the Fullerton Hotel that evening, and by morning everyone in Southport was uneasy about her mysterious disappearance. Willis Brewer, a fisherman in the area, agreed to go look for her. He retraced her steps from the Southport post office to Hendricks Head. He discovered the place where she stepped off the road as Charles Knight passed her and found her trail to the summer cottages. He followed her steps west, but upon reaching the water found nothing. For days the mystery remained unsolved. Almost a week later, on Sunday, December 6th, Charlie Pinkham, who volunteered at the firehouse, gathered a couple of men and headed down to the waters below the lighthouse. They scanned the open sweep of ocean but saw nothing. Finally, one of the firemen caught a glimpse of something bobbing in the water. The undertow had pulled the body of the woman up to the surface. When they pulled her in, they discovered that a flat iron had been tied to her body in order to weigh her down. Rumors spread of the woman's suicide, but there were some who suspected foul play. Southport authorities conducted an extensive background search, but unfortunately the woman had left nothing to be overturned. Her suitcase in the hotel had not a trace of identification. Detectives arrived from New York City. Reporters from all over ran stories. The Missing Persons Bureau checked time and time again for leads, but in the end no one came forward to claim her. In January 1932, she was buried in the cemetery along the road to Hendricks Head. No headstone marked her grave. For years after the incident, an unidentified black limousine was seen in the area on the anniversary of her death. To add further mystery to the story, locals began seeing the ghost of a woman in black wandering the area around Hendricks Head Lighthouse. Upon closer inspection, they found footprints in the sand, but no other trace of her. Known as the Lady of Dusk, she is often seen roaming the beach near the lighthouse in the early evening. She's also been seen on the stretch of road between Boothbay Harbor and Hendricks Head. It's even been rumored that she walks dignified, steadfast, and determined toward the water, just as she did on the night she drowned. The mystery is still a hotly debated topic of conversation in Hendricks Head, Maine. Locals and visitors alike enjoy speculating as to the cause of the woman's death. Some have suggested that she lost her family fortune during the stock market crash and was unable to face a life of poverty. Others assert that the woman was in mourning and sought solace in the deep, dark waters. One far-fetched argument goes so far as to claim that she was involved in liquor smuggling and had crossed the wrong people. But for all their speculations, no one knows for sure what befell the Lady of Dusk that night, or why she darts among the cottages beneath the soft glow of the Hendricks Head light. She remains as elusive and mysterious in death as she was in life. Hendricks Head is privately owned. Visitors are not permitted near the lighthouse. In fact, no trespassing signs warn visitors away from the entrance to the driveway. A zoom lens is necessary to take photos of the lighthouse. There is a small beach in West Southport that offers a view of it, but the best way to see the tower is by boat. Commercial tours are available out of Boothbay Harbor. Cruises to a variety of Maine lighthouses, including Hendricks Head, are available through the Maine Maritime Museum. Whew, that was a pretty long one. Okay. So, the Lady of Dusk. And it's saying that she is still seen walking along the beach toward the lighthouse. Let me see what that lighthouse looked like again. That was, that's a pretty neat lighthouse. That's a pretty big house. Lightkeeper's house next to it. One of the shorter ones, but has nice accommodations for the lighthouse keeper. Okay, so she was heading toward the lighthouse. So I'm just going to do the lighthouse. Let me look here. This is starting to look hinky. Okay. It's a railing along the top. And there's one little window here. It has several. Okay. And it's this way. Let's see. This isn't the best looking house, let me tell you. Like I said, me and architecture don't mix. Okay, that's just a simple sketch of what it would look like. Anyway. And this has a fence around the front. And the big rocks. Okay, and this is going to be the beach line. Right here, water line. That's the water. This is the beach area. Now I'm guessing the beach isn't right up against. Well, you know, I'm just guessing. I'm just trying to draw something. And okay, and the moon is coming. Right. And they were worried about it snowing for her. I'm surprised, like, you know, it mustn't be one of those busybody towns where they have to know everything about somebody new and interesting coming into town, or they would have found out who she was, probably, if she was willing to give up that little bit of information, which if she had planned to do this, then probably not, but it would have been worth a shot. But anyway, okay, so they saw her footsteps. Let me get you down in here because this is going to be kind of tiny. You know, they didn't even really say if she was wearing feet. They said footsteps, so I'm assuming that she was barefoot. That's just my opinion. That's my assumption of what they saw. Okay, that's what they see now. Now I'm going to try to... She was in a long black dress. Here. This isn't working for me over here. And was she wearing a hat? I don't remember if they said anything about that. I thought they just were saying how her hair was flowing over her dress from the wind. So we'll make it windswept hair. She's walking along the beach. Well, that was a dumb looking foot. I'll just leave that like that. That was just a strange looking foot. There she is. She's walking along. Now, here's a strange thing. They said that there was a flat iron tied to her to weight her down. Hadn't the post office lady noticed her carrying one? Where did she conceal it? That's a strange thought too. So, them thinking that maybe it was foul play could be right. I mean, maybe she didn't expect, maybe she was there to see where someone passed that she knew, like maybe one of her relatives, was a captain of a ship or something, and she wanted to see, or who knows? Maybe it was the little girl, grown up and came back because her adoptive parents were only there for the summer. So if they lived in New York or wherever in the city, she may have come back when she heard that this is what happened. They finally told her of how they come to adopt her and what had happened. If they told her the story, she may be wanting to be with her family. That's one thing. And like I said, if she was carrying a flat iron to weight herself down in the water, where was she hiding it? Because obviously it would have been something that you would have seen, but it hadn't been mentioned until her body was found. So was it someone took advantage of her and when she was hiding in the cottages or whatever, or she's out there by herself? But I guess they would have seen other footprints at the time. But I guess they didn't really do anything right away. I don't know that if there was any kind of footprints that would have been noticeable to show that there was more than one person. But I was assuming that they didn't find her body for a few days. So, that kind of evidence would have been washed away. And with other people always walking on the beach, probably in the morning, taking their morning walk along the beach and things, it probably would have been hard to determine which were hers and which were someone else's prints. So I guess this would have been a really tough one, especially back then, to solve, because there were so many possibilities as to what might have happened, and not knowing her identity didn't help to figure out why she was so adamant about finding the ocean. And when they mentioned the lighthouse, Hendricks Head Lighthouse, she seemed familiar with the name. So that's where I'm going to lean toward this as my assumption as to what is going on with this ghost story. This is my take on it. I'm thinking the two stories merged into one. That this ended up being the baby girl that was found bobbing in the water and was rescued and adopted by these summer residents, and was finally told the story of her adoption. Possibly she was at that age where they thought that she could know now, and when she found out, she went back to the place where her parents lost their lives and wanted to be with them. That's just, but the flat iron, that's the only thing that throws me off. Other than that, maybe she wasn't planning on killing herself, but just visiting the place of where she was found and discovered. That's just my guess. I don't know. Okay, so if you would like to give me your ideas on what you think the mystery of this woman is. My drawing isn't so great today. It's actually sucky. I think a lot of it has to do with that stinky lighthouse. But yeah, this is a baffling one, but I'm gonna stick to my thoughts, what I think. And like I said, the only thing that is weird in this situation is the flat iron being tied to her to hold her down. I just don't understand that nobody from the post office, anybody who talked to her that night, didn't realize she had a flat iron and wonder why. You know, how did she hide that? And to me, when you say flat iron nowadays, I'm not sure what exactly how big a flat iron is back then. I don't know if they were saying it was like an iron that they used to iron clothes. But I think if it was, it would have been a noticeable thing and an unusual thing for someone to have when going on a walk and asking to go to the ocean. But nowadays, a flat iron is a hair straightener, and that would no way in any shape or form hold a body down in the ocean. So I'm thinking a flat iron was a regular iron that they used to iron clothes. Okay, please give me a like if you liked it. I hope to get a few likes and some comments. I'd really like to hear what your theories are on this mystery ghost, Lady of the Dusk. But thank you so much, and hope to see you guys in the next one. Goodbye for now.